It's more disappointment in the League Cup for Hearts. This is Hearts Standard. This is Hearts Standard. I'm Craig Cairns. That's Joe Sked. We've just watched Hearts lose a penalty shootout in the League Cup against St Mirren. It was a poor first half. It was a better second half. They carried it into this extra time period but couldn't find a breakthrough. Joe, what were your thoughts on that?
Disappointing. I think it was a frustrating afternoon. See if you're just going to get beat in the cup, just get beat in 90 minutes and not have to suffer another 30 minutes of St Mirren fans complaining at every decision and then penalties as well. So yeah, it was just a disappointing afternoon and just annoyed that this League Cup continues. It's just banging on about it all the time, but it's embarrassing record for Hearts, and obviously not just this team but the club in general to have this such a bad League Cup record. And overall, Hearts didn't do enough to deserve to win it before it went to penalties, and then it's up to good penalty taking and a goalkeeper saving.
Yeah, the better team without doing a whole lot to actually sort of win the game in the end, without enough quality to win the game in the end. Let's go to the selection. As always, a couple of interesting comments from McInnes regarding that specifically. Anyway, he said possibly one too many of the new players. I don't know about yourself. I know you had predicted that Kabore potentially could have started. I was a bit surprised to see Kabore, especially heard of Kabangu. I know the role he's being asked to play is slightly different, but just to see him starting ahead of Kabangu, I found a bit strange. Less so, not strange, but I was surprised, I should say. Sorry, not strange, I didn't mean that. And Magnusson made a lot more sense, especially with the pre-match comments with McInnes focused on winning that midfield battle. Yeah,
absolutely. And there was a lot of, I think there was eyebrows raised at who was playing where and the right back / right wing back situation, and so we asked him about that because it seemed like it just wasn't clicking to begin with. Kabore and McInnes were constantly switching positions and having to switch back and stuff, and this didn't look right, and it ended up just changing. It went to a narrow three, and McInnes went to just a normal right wing back. I kind of thought with 3-4-3 just because of how St Mirren defend and you want to stretch them, and then Kabore, like the way McInnes has talked about, is kind of his key position is going to be probably right off like a front three. Probably that's where he's best at. So that's where I thought Kabore would start, but it just felt McInnes maybe overcomplicated it to begin with, and it just led to a really disjointed first half performance. And it goes back to the right side issue, and I know we addressed it earlier on in the week where we kind of talked about how we understood why maybe Hearts wouldn't bring in another right back just because the choice is there, but it does show that, like, I think we both said in an ideal world Hearts would bring in another right back if that's possible between now and the end of the transfer window. But it does show you that we've got Adam Forster back on loan, a traditional right back who's played wing back, not in the squad, and then it's kind of just not, you kind of just force like a wee bit of square pegs into round holes.
One of the things that stood out for me in the first half was there was a lack of Hearts getting in behind St Mirren. They barely did at all. A lot of the times when Kabore or Kyziridis got the ball, it was in front of the St Mirren defence. And half time there was changes made. Braga came on and Kabangu came on, and they instantly changed the game for Hearts. Braga with his dropping in and taking the ball from the defence and then driving at the St Mirren defence, or Kabangu making his runs in behind and even just giving St Mirren something else to think about with his pace. And they scored from another set piece, but we're not here talking about a lot of gilt-edged chances from open play that Hearts missed.
No, that's another thing that needs to improve, is the chance creation from open play. First half I think there was a couple of good moves, but it's like St Mirren are really, see if you're not sharp, St Mirren are really good at forcing you to play back the way, and then they're really happy if the ball's in front of them, and they did that really well, like I said, stretching it back. But how many times did you think in open play where you're like, oh, Hearts about to do something? I think Braga down here, he cut in or he ran at the box and had a low shot saved by Shamal George. So that, if we're looking at early on in McInnes' tenure, because this is the first bump in the road, the first setback, you do look at highlight as wee concerns here and there. I think that is a wee bit of a concern, both the right-sided issue and how you're taking McIntyre out of the centre of the pitch, but also the chance creation from open play.
Are you more concerned than you were going into this game? Because just to kind of give you my reasons for the question, is that I don't really feel any more concerned. I mean, when Hearts won those first 2 league matches, it was clear as day that there's still issues there. There's still a work in progress. And I feel the same now. Yeah. I mean, Hearts didn't lose the game. Hearts didn't even lose the game. They've lost it on penalties, but they didn't lose it in the regulation time, is what I mean. Yeah. So there is an argument for, yes, there's disappointment at going out the cup, especially in the context of Hearts' record in this cup.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to get too down about, I don't think. Just as like Hearts fans shouldn't have been getting too carried away with those first 2 matches, I don't think there should be too many concerns about this.
No, I think it's, like I said, I think it's a bump in the road, and it's an early one, and it's be interesting to see how they respond. But it's just natural that when there's positive results, you kind of stay on the positive, the positives, and then when there's a poor result, you look at the negatives. And I forgot what Hearts tweet is like. Just going by my mentions on social media, it's forgot how depressing a Saturday night's going to be. But no, it's one of those where I'm guilty of it as well, of just being uber positive when things go positive, and then it's only when you get a setback you start looking and picking at things. But it's not. It's what today showed is that it's very much still a work in progress. There's still new players coming in. Just with Borchgrevink's injury, the balance is maybe not quite right there. I would still, if people are going to discuss the back three, I still like the back three, but it's an issue when you don't have someone natural to play on the right hand side, because the rest of the team looks natural to play it. So yeah, there's wee bits to pick at, but like McInnes said, it was bottom 6 team last season. There's been a lot of turnover in the summer, and it's going to take time, and it's one of, like I said, it's not. What was encouraging is what we've seen like Dundee United last week, is that when the team have not been playing great, they're still gritty, they're still battling, still decent mentality. It's just now more time together and being better and just improving in open play.
Yeah, it was the quality and the execution in the final third that was basically the main issue after the poor first half. Is there anything else you want to add? Any other business before we get out here and try and beat the traffic?
Oh, yeah. No, I thought, in terms of, I felt sorry for Kyziridis, Magnusson and Kabore, just because it was a really difficult introduction to them in terms of like start.
First start since the league started for the three of them.
Yes, exactly. Their first start against, like Kyziridis, first start against Scottish Premiership opposition, and there are a few kind of tougher places to come than playing against St Mirren and how they play, especially that first half where they were really at it, and then you add in how the balance wasn't quite right with the lineup, so it kind of impacted them as well. Don't get me started on Stephen McLean with his booking early on at Magnusson. I think McLean was terrible for both sides. I just think he's a really, really bad referee. But that's
3 weeks in a row we've said that.
They're rubbish. But most of them just seem rubbish. But yeah, I think kind of felt sorry for him. Like Kabore, you see someone who's going to put himself about. Magnusson, there was one or two good moments, but as McInnes said, it was probably maybe a wee bit too much, and he did admit that he perhaps got it wrong by starting them. He said he would have loved to have turned to the bench and had a Kabore to bring on, or Kyziridis to bring on when it was stretched and more space. So yeah, it was a disappointing afternoon. I just forgot what it was like to talk about Hearts defeat.
It wasn't that long ago that we were in this situation. Yes, we are going to finish up and get out of here. To let you in, and what we're talking about, beating the traffic. The Rangers game's ongoing at the moment, so unless Alloa equalise again, then we want to beat that traffic. Please check out everything at heartstandard.co.uk. There's plenty of reaction going up about this game. There'll be more in future.
Yeah, obviously we might talk and have more measured and chat on Monday.
Unless we're trying to get out of here, chat. Please download the app and check that out. It's a really good way to check out our content. It's free. Some of the content on there you have to subscribe for. Please subscribe to this channel if you can, and we will see you all again soon.